Hello, sister leaders. This is Dr. Karen Hills Pruden. And look, this is another episode of the Sister Leaders Podcast. And I get excited because we have another awesome female leader in the house, and we're going to learn all about her and what she does in this space called life. And so, we don't do the reading of the bio. All of that stuff is posted with this particular link. And so let's get in the nitty gritty and find out more about Reverend Dr. Darlene Williams. Welcome to the Sister Leaders Podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, because I got questions. So before we get started, why don't you just give us maybe like your introductory about who you are, the problem you solve, or your ideal client, just a little bit about you before I get deep with my questions.
No problem. Thank you again. So I am Reverend Dr. Darlene Williams. People call me Dr. D, and I am the owner and founder of Darlene Williams Consulting and Restoring Bountiful Joy. So, with these two businesses, we really help people heal from traumatic life challenges, whether it's grief, whether it's loss, and even things that you may not think is a loss. And we do this in a way that it's really connected to the books that I've written, Freedom Positioning System, and also Father, Mother, Sister, My Grief, But God. And these methods really help people to really heal from the inside out, to find out what are some of the things that's holding them back, what are some of the things that's keeping them from working and being at their full potential, and also to restore that joy that they have lost. We have married this healing methodology with leadership and executive coaching because one thing I've learned as an executive leader is a healed leader is a better leader. So we like to marry the two to really help people to be whole again. And that is the problem that we solve.
I love it. And that is a good segue for us to just kind of dive deep into really how you do the things that it is that you say you do. So let's start off a little bit with your leadership and your executive coaching. And so what do you believe are the top three traits every transformational leader must cultivate in today's world? So what would be the top three traits?
Yes, great question. Thanks for asking that. So, one of our main programs is called the Executive Trifecta, and it's a mastery program to help leaders establish really strength in three main areas. So, that's confidence, communication, and credibility. And I think those three areas are most important because if you're able to communicate as a leader, then you're able to make sure that people see you as a leader. People see you as someone who has authority, someone that they can believe in, and someone that's able to articulate a vision well, because we know that leaders have to articulate a vision. So communication, how we impact people with our words. Confidence is number two because a confident leader also shows that you are able to lead when any situation is happening, where there's a crisis, where there's emergency, and also that you show your authority in a way that you feel like you know what you're doing and that your team can depend on you. So confidence to us is one of the main areas that leaders really show that they can lead through difficult situations. And then credibility. So credibility, your team has to trust you. People have to see you as the expert and the authority figure in your leadership. So having that credibility also builds on trust. It helps to build on your integrity, but it also helps to show that you are well rounded in your leadership. So our executive trifecta, confidence, communication, and credibility. We call it our three C's.
I love that. And of course, I introduced you as Reverend Dr. Darlene Williams. And so, how does your faith kind of inform your executive coaching and leadership development programs? What role does your faith play in those programs?
Yeah, it plays a huge role. So I'm Reverend Dr. Darlene Williams, but I'm also Reverend Brown's daughter. And I always say that in the beginning of my speeches or when I'm preaching a sermon on Sunday because I believe in ensuring that I am a genuine and authentic person And I also know that I would not have been able to get through this life without my faith and without having that stronger, higher power to really guide me and protect me. So I use my faith in my coaching programs to help instill hope in people, to help instill a sense of helping people to keep going, to be able to make it through difficult challenges, difficult situations. And I found it to be very empowering. You'd be surprised how many people have a quiet closet faith and they're afraid to bring it forward unless you show them that it's okay. It's okay to be their authentic, genuine self. So my faith is with me wherever I go, whether it's praying before I'm speaking, silently praying for someone if I know that they need it and I can sense that. But also, faith gives hope to people. It helps them to know that there's something or there's someone that believes in them. So I think that my faith has been such a divine factor in everything that I do, and it's helped me to propel and move forward.
I love that. And of course, you mentioned earlier you were talking about grief. And so I do want to touch on your grief coaching programs. And so, um, what are some early signs that someone is stuck in grief or emotional stagnation, and how can they begin to move forward? How do we know we're even grieving?
Yeah. So, there's a concept called hidden grief. And hidden grief are those things that we see ourselves, but we ignore. So I just last July I released two books. One was a workbook accompanying my book, and it's called Father, Mother, Sister, My Grief But God, Moving Forward Without Pieces of My Heart. And I wrote that book because over the past 5 years, 6 years now probably, I lost my entire childhood family. So my mother, my father, and my sister passed away all within a year and a half of each other and left me as the sole survivor of the household. Which every time I say that, it's amazing that I'm able to say it, going back to my faith. So my faith is what makes me be able to stand here and say it. And I wrote that book not so much as a autobiography, but more of an inspirational book and a testimony to help those go through the grief process and the grief journey, because it's a journey. Um, a lot of times we keep moving forward, and I did my podcast today, the Debrief with Dr. D, real talk, real strategy, real leadership, one insight at a time. And today's episode was me talking about May and Mental Health Awareness Month. And I spoke about this grief journey and how we wear this mask and we don't realize that we're going through a grieving process or we're not okay. And someone asks you how you're doing, and you're like, I'm fine. Blessed and highly favored. And you don't give the real answer, right? We say those things that we're programmed to say.
Mhm.
So, I would answer that by saying if you're constantly thinking about something and it's constantly weighing on your spirit, then it's trying to get your attention. And it's not going to go away until you give it the attention that it needs. And that can be grief. So acknowledging it first and then seeking help, whether it's talking to a trusted person, whether it's acknowledging it first within yourself, but also realizing that, wow, I'm grieving this thing that I've lost. And it doesn't always have to be a person. It could be grieving a part of you that is lost. It can be grieving something that you longed for that you used to have that is gone now. And one of my grief clients and I was coaching, she said she was grieving a part of her body that she lost, but she didn't realize that she was grieving it until going through my coaching program. So I would say if there's something that is really honing in on you that keeps coming back to you, that could be a sign of hidden grief.
Oh, wow. So I hear evolution from grief to maybe empowerment of some sort. recognizing the role that whatever it is plays in your grief, and then that recognition helps you move to empowerment. And so you had mentioned two of your coaching programs, Restoring Bountiful Joy and Freedom Positioning System. Can you tell us a little bit about how either one of those, whether it's Freedom Positioning System or Restoring Bountiful Joy, can help your clients shift from that place of grief to maybe empowerment after they recognize what it is that plays a role in their grief?
Yeah, great question. So, Freedom Positioning System is actually our signature framework that is used in our coaching program. And that came from my 2014 book, FPS, Freedom Positioning System. And you think about a GPS for your car, it gives you direction of how to get somewhere. So we label this framework FPS, Freedom Positioning System, because it's taking you on the path to freedom. And we use that in getting through your grieving process, through that grieving journey. It's 10 steps, and each step takes you closer and closer to ultimate freedom, which is the result. And the 10 steps are things that are hidden and you really don't think about them. So, one chapter is related to freedom from anger. So, when we have anger built up inside of us and we don't really know why we're angry, we see the outward behavior, we see the outward signs, but we haven't honed in on why am I angry? Another chapter is freedom from resentment and bitterness and unforgiveness. Why am I so bitter? Why have I not been able to forgive something or someone or even myself? And how is that lack of forgiveness holding me back? One of my favorite chapters is freedom from unrealistic expectations. I use this example when you think about relationships. So if your partner is not doing something at a high level, I'm not talking about taking out the trash, at a high level that you expect for them to, and it causes problems in your relationship, have you examined if that expectation is realistic? Is it something that that person should be doing? And how do you free yourself from that? Freedom from control, freedom from unhealthy body image, freedom from money and issues. So all these things that they take control of our mindset in a way that they can hinder us and become a barrier to us moving forward to empowerment and to restoring that joy. So we take that framework and we use it depending on what our clients are faced with to help them get to the point of freedom.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And then I love the possible incremental growth, slowly, it's
Yes.
not expected for you to be I wouldn't use the word cured, but better tomorrow. It sounds more of an incremental process, which sounds healthier to me. So let's
Yeah.
talk about your interactions and with businesses, and being able to help businesses, organizations rather, I think is a more appropriate word for that. And so since you are the CEO of Darlene Williams Consulting, so what is your guiding philosophy when you help leaders and organizations grow?
Wow. That's another great question. So, I have over 30 years of experience leading organizations, starting programs, leading large nonprofits, large government organizations as president and CEO of corporations, as commissioners in New York City government. And most of my work, and I want to say all of my work actually, has been helping marginalized communities. And what's amazing about that is, as I've worked in helping marginalized communities and build programs, most of the peoples of my team could have also been my clients. So for me, I think what's been most rewarding is helping people see a sense of empowerment that they can move forward. In the olden days, it was climbing the corporate ladder, but it's also helping people realize that there's more for them in life and they can get there, and helping to drive them on that path to get there. I recall one of my staff members who was a social worker when I was running homeless shelters, and she wanted to leave social work and start her own business. And she was so, afraid to do that, right? To step out on faith, but I coached her through it as I was the employee there. And now I think it's been about 3 years. She left the organization. She started her own coaching business, and she has so many clients, and she is so happy because she has two young children. So she's able to work at home, be with her children, but also still be successful and to work in an industry that she is proud to work in. And that really is comforting to her. So, that's part of that. And I would also say, as a faculty member, so I taught at LIU Brooklyn for about 10 years. I created a course for them from scratch called Diversity and Health Disparities. And the course teaches students who are going to medical school the importance of understanding the health disparities of different communities. I also teach at Metropolitan College of New York in the master's program, um, Introduction to Public Health, and BMCC at CUNY School, Introduction to Public Health. And I mentioned these three colleges, and I teach at a seminary as well. I mentioned these three colleges because being able to help students transform and understand that they too can reach that level, I think is what really helps to guide our coaching program. And you know this all too well. We are forever coaching, and we are
Mhm.
forever in every aspect of our lives helping someone and giving them that advice and giving them that guidance. So doing this coaching now in my own program, I think is really the culmination of all the work that I've been doing for so many years.
I love that. And so you talked about your role as an educator. Of course, we know that you wear many hats. So you're an educator, you're also a minister, you're also a strategist. And so, how do all of these roles support one another in your mission of transformation?
Yeah, great question. When you think about it, they're all pouring into the lives of people, right? You're taking your lived experiences. I'm taking the things that I have gone through, and I've turned, people use the frame, from pain to purpose. And you really do take pain, and depending on what you decide to do with it, it can be purpose, but it can also build hope into other people. I preached for Youth Sunday at the end of April, and my message to the youth was about them helping to move forward. We were getting ready to get into graduation season and really giving them encouragement to keep going to the next phase of their journey. So I tie it all in because I try to make sure I am authentic and I'm the same person no matter what setting I'm in. And I think that's very important because you want people to see the real you. So
Hmm.
my ministry, my executive leadership, my coaching, my mentoring, my role is as a mother, as a wife, as a minister. I want to believe, as a grandmother, I want to believe that I am able to be who I am and walk in my purpose and tie all of those roles into the Dr. D that's pouring into other people's lives based on what I have to offer and what I've learned in my life.
That is awesome. So let's talk a little bit about maybe preparation. And so, in your experience in facilitating and teaching leadership and, in some instances, public administration, what personal shifts are necessary in preparing for future faith-based and nonprofit leaders? How do they need to prepare, and what shifts or changes do they need to make in order to get themselves ready for the experience that they are embarking on?
Yeah, in 2025, it's almost as if the world is ever evolving. I sit on the mayor's Office of Nonprofits Task Force and Advisory Board. I was co-chair of that board. And, we just talked today in our meeting about the important roles that nonprofits play in helping communities. And, the shift that we have to make is really one, understanding AI, artificial intelligence, and how that plays a role, how to leverage it, right? Not just use it to answer questions, but leverage it to advance ourselves, to advance our businesses, to advance our roles in the community and in public administration. And also, I would say since COVID, being flexible. We can't do things like we used to do. There is no more climbing the corporate ladder. There is no more going to work 5 days a week, being in the office from 9 to 5. We need to not only be flexible, we also need to understand the difference in cultures and the difference in generations, because every generation is completely different. The thought
Yep.
process is completely different. So if we want to be able to be effective and to continue to help people, we need to make sure that we are culturally competent. That's one of the classes I also taught at LIU Brooklyn, Long Island University, Brooklyn, but culturally aware, and not only having insight into different cultures, insight into the evolution of AI and technology, but understand how to use it, right? It's one thing to know something exists, but how do we use it effectively? And that's something we also, touch base with our clients about. I had one of my coaching clients today, young woman, she started her own business. She is in the beauty industry. She does hair, but she also does makeup, and she's struggling with how to market and find her client base. So we talked through how she can utilize digital marketing and AI to really expand her business and her target market, and how to make sure she's leveraging herself properly. So I think understanding where technology and where the evolution of society sits in relation to our business and our niche.
I love that. So, what are, how do I want to say this? So, what are your spiritual non negotiables, like habits or practices you do maybe daily to stay centered and aligned with purpose? I hear you talk a lot about how you work with your clients, but we know we are only as good as we maintain ourselves when we're working with our clients. And so, what is Reverend Dr. Darlene's spiritual non negotiable? What are your habits and what are your practices that keep you grounded?
Yes. We cannot pour from an empty cup, right?
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we are replenishing ourselves and filling ourselves up, because just like, they say on an airplane, put your mask on yourself first. We have to make sure we replenish. I did an event last Saturday, which was a pre-Mother's Day event in honor of my mother. I honored three women in the community, but I had a fireside chat, and that fireside chat was about self-care. It's still on my Facebook page, so if anyone wants to see it, we streamed the whole thing live. Um, so my non-negotiables are every morning when I get up, I used to leave here 6 o'clock in the morning and be in the office at 7 and stay till 7, 8 o'clock at night. No more. So now my morning starts with getting up and thanking God for waking me up in the morning, keeping me through the night safely. I get in my car and I drive and get my coffee. I could make coffee here, but it's something about getting out of the house in the morning and just getting in my car or walking and having that time to myself and just going. That's a non negotiable. When I come back from that, me and my dog, we walk up and down the block and just take a stroll. I'm listening to music and we are just walking. After that is it's breakfast, and it's just that quiet time, whether it's, playing some gospel music, putting on something inspirational, doing those things to center and ground myself in the morning before I do anything. I did a speech. I don't remember where it was a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things I talked about is what we allow in our spirit first thing in the morning. Just think about it. You're waking up from a place of rest. The first thing we want in our spirit is not something from someone else. It's something that we know is going to keep us safe and grounded and secure. So when I say something from someone else, I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm not going to look at social media. I'm not going to look at text messages because those are all thoughts from other people. Whether it's their social media post, it's still something from someone else. So I'm going to keep myself grounded for at least the first hour and only allow in my spirit things that I know are hopeful, things that I know are positive. That's a non negotiable for me. The same thing at night. Before I go to bed, it's not the news. It's not a horror movie because I don't watch horror movies anyway. It's something that is also going to give me a sense of peace before I go to bed. So the first thing in the morning and right before I go to sleep, I'm only allowing in my spirit things that are hopeful because I firmly believe in the saying, what you welcome in, you must entertain. So I'm only welcoming in things that I know are positive.
Oh, that is so intentional too. That I hear a lot of intentionality in it. Turn down the phone. Don't
Yeah.
look at the news. But I also hear the possibility of um preparing your mind and your body for, I don't know, peace. PEACE.
Yes.
Peace, not doing those things that is going to disrupt your peace prior to you laying down at sleep. I think about someone that may be prone to nightmares or something like that. It may have
Absolutely.
something to do with patterns or behaviors prior to them going to sleep. I'm not sure, but yeah, but when I hear you talk, it's like you're preparing to have a peaceful sleep. You're preparing, you do it before you go to bed, and then when you wake up, you don't immediately allow anything to disrupt as soon as you woke up.
That's it. That's it.
No.
It's intentional. We can set our minds up for a peaceful day, right? We can set ourselves up for a peaceful night because we're in control of that. When you think about it, what if someone's having a rant on social media? What if there are things in your email that are going to be so distracted to you that they cause conflict? So we are in control of what we allow in at certain times. And when you're waking up or you're going to bed, you have to protect that space for yourself. And that's what I try to do.
I love that. My next question has to do with the debrief with Dr. D.
Yes, yes.
So, want to know or hear a little bit about how did that come about? What inspired you to start the podcast? And what do you hope each guest or listener walks away with of the podcast?
Yeah. So the debrief with Dr. D has been just amazing. I started because I wanted to have a really bold, insightful platform for people to get information, to have those real conversations about defining moments in life, whether it's leadership, whether it's grief, restoration, but a safe space so people can come and talk about not only their struggles, but how they survived, right? And to instill hope and encouragement into different people. We've had pastors on there talk about, their role as pastors, but also their role as leaders, as pastors. I had a woman preacher on there, a friend of mine, Dr. Patience Odie. She's an apostle of about 5 different churches, but she also is a leader professionally and just the intersection in that. Um, we've had individuals come on and just talk about their journey in their life, and struggles that they've gone through and how they've overcome it. So it started as a way to publicly add on to other videos that we've done, but also something consistent that people can depend on. Um, what I hope people walk away with is knowing that they're not alone, that there's someone else that is going through or has gone through something similar that they have endured, and they're surviving, they're thriving, they're able to talk about it, they're able to get resources. A few weeks ago, I had a father on there who, unfortunately, last year lost his son to suicide. And he is a strong advocate for awareness, mental health, and suicide prevention. He came on the podcast and told his story, and wanted to really engage other youth and other parents about the signs of suicide prevention. So I'm hoping that that podcast helps someone who is going through that or is preventing someone from going through that, because he talked about the things that shocked him. He never expected that from his son because he thought everything was okay, but he was able to see some of the signs that he missed. So, the debrief with Dr. D, real talk, real strategy, real leadership, one insight at a time. It's a place of realness, hope, encouragement, and also resources for people to get.
Oh, I love the resources part because that has to do with continued growth, continued healing,
Yeah.
not just discussing it and kind of leaving it there. So I definitely love that. One other thing before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you about because you are definitely a leader, a sister leader who uses all of her talent. So we want to ask about Williams Academy. And so, what kind of transformation do you aim to facilitate through this learning hub?
Yes, no, thank you. So Williams Academy is really, it's such a joy because so I have four books, two children's books that are coming out within the next couple of weeks, and those children's books talk about just feelings and restoration and healing that some children may have and how to recognize them. We have Father, Mother, Sister, My Grief But God, and then we also have FPS Freedom Positioning System. So we've developed curriculum from these books where people can go on our website at www.drdarlenewilliams.com, drdarlenewilliamsconsulting.com, and they can purchase the courses and go through them at their own pace. So courses related to the executive trifecta, courses related to grief and the journey of grief, understanding emotional intelligence. We have a course coming out on AI and how we incorporate AI with restoration and emotional intelligence and leadership. So, Williams Academy is going to be a large platform where you can get many, many courses depending on your different area of interest, but also it's something that you can do at your own pace. So we're really excited about having that platform and offering that not only to our clients, but to anyone who's interested.
Love that. And so, as we are closing out, look, we believe in supporting our sister leaders. And so, why don't you share whatever it is you want to share, what you have going on, any books, your coaching programs, share how the community can stay in contact with you, where they can reach you, all of that. We want to know all of that. We want to be all up in your business. So, tell us how to stay connected.
Absolutely. So you can go on our website. We have two websites. So I mentioned drdarlenewilliamsconsulting.com. That is a website where you can get access to Williams Academy. You can purchase our four books on that website. You can also see where we're speaking in the near future. We just did a program last week for Pre-Mother's Day, which was a great program, but we have some more programs coming up. Then we have www.restoringbountifuljoy.com. That website is really focused on restoring joy, health and wellness, self care. It's a platform to go to for resources and support. On social media, please follow us on LinkedIn. I'm listed as Dr. Darlene Williams on LinkedIn. On Facebook, it's Dr. Darlene Brown Williams. My maiden name is in there. We also have Coach Dr. D on Facebook and on Instagram. And then please check out our podcast, The Debrief with Dr. D. We are up to 11 episodes. I'm really excited about that. We just started this year. So we post every single Tuesday a new episode. So please check us out and give us your feedback, what you want to hear, the conversations you're interested in having us explore. And also, if you're interested in being on our podcast as a guest, there's a form you can fill out to give us your information. And we always are interested in talking to more and more people. So check out our books as they're coming out. These two new children books. I'm really excited about them. We're looking to have those books in. We're in New York City, so in our New York City public schools, because I think they're going to be a great resource for our youth who are struggling with anxiety, with depression, with really understanding why they're feeling certain ways. These books are a tool for teachers, but also not just educators, for parents. So we want to go around and do speaking engagements and teaching around these books. So those are all the many ways you can keep in touch with us.
Absolutely, and of course, your full bio is listed with this link in this episode as well. And so, I want to thank you for joining the Sister Leaders podcast community. You are family, and don't go anywhere. Just hang with us for a minute. But I need to segue because this is the time of the year, people, where we are starting to talk about the conferences coming up. And guess who is going to grace the stage of the conference? None other than Reverend Dr. Darlene Williams. And so, of course, the Sister Leaders Conference is going back to the Rivers Casino in Portsmouth, Virginia. We are live on Friday and Saturday, October 3rd and 4th, and we will be globally live streaming for those of you who aren't able to travel to be with us. But we're going to have 2 full days of sharing of information, sharing of resources, collaborations, and making connections. And so we want to encourage you to be in the house. Of course, the conference website is the same. It has been for the last 5 years. Sister Leaders with a S conference.com. You'll find all the information there, and we will begin selling tickets within the next 30 days. And so we are excited because this year our theme is her vision, her voice, her victory. And so everybody in the house is going to be talking about that theme somewhere in their presentations. And so we are excited. We are excited again to influence and impact leadership, leaders, and so come on out, join us. And stay tuned to the next episode of the Sister Leaders Podcast. But until then, bye bye.
Bye bye. Take care.